A match made in queer heaven. Anaheim mayor invites the sisters to Angels Pride Night. Anaheim's mayor has invited a group of self-described queer and transgender nuns that was disinvited from the Los Angeles Dodgers' annual LGBTQ Pride Night to be her guest at the Los Angeles Angels' upcoming Pride Night. It was unclear whether the group would accept the invitation or have any official participation in the team's June 7th event. Last week, the Los Angeles Dodgers pulled a group of self-described queer and trans nuns from their list of honorees during the team's upcoming Pride Night. The decision was made after complaints were raised by several Catholic organizations and Senator Marco Rubio, who said that the group disparages Christians. The organization Catholic Vote also condemned the group's inclusion in the Dodgers event. Its president, Burch, issued a statement hailing the team's decision to exclude the group. In response, the sisters issued a statement expressing deep offense at being uninvited to the event, calling the decision a capitulation to hateful and misleading information from people outside their community. Other high-profile Southland supporters of LGBTQ+ rights also chimed in, expressing disappointment in the Dodgers' decision. Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath had blasted the team for disinviting the sisters. Yesterday, the abbess of the LA Sisters, Sister Dominia, and board member Sister Berance Knows met with the president of the Dodgers. The charity group has not only accepted an invite back to the Pride Night, but the Dodgers will be presenting the group, founded in 1979, with a Community Hero Award. Well, that is very, very quick. So I do think,
very quick.
Sometimes
Great observation.
Public pressure does work. I think it is really disappointing the fact that LA, the heart of and California, which is arguably one of the most protected and progressive states in the country, is seemingly reacting to what we have going on here. Like, oh no, they're transgender or they're dressing in drag, or is it really about the religious angle is what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Well, yay sports ball, and I'm sorry, Rubio, somebody must have called for toilet paper and Rubio came rolling in. Who asked him? He should be worried about what's happening here in Florida, not in California.
It doesn't matter, but these organizations, these so-called religious advocacy organizations, are notoriously small. They always represent a very vocal but very minority slice of the conservative population, and they make a lot of noises. Some people, if the Dodgers organization are not familiar with them, or they are just like, oh my God, there's this league of Catholic voters, they might have overreacted more than they should have.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we don't know whose ear they had. Like, he could have come in the first thing in the morning and the head of whatever calls them and says, we're outraged, you need to do something. And no one's heard from the other side yet. No one's heard from the sisters.
I'm curious to that point. Is the LGBTQ community going to accept this apology and go, okay, Dodgers, you did it right. Do you think we will?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
I mean, yeah. I mean, people make statements. They make mistakes and not well advised. They come back and reevaluate that decision. And if they, as a group, clearly more than one person was involved in repealing the taking back of the invite. Then you can say
create an artificial award to say we're great.
You know what? They had to cover their ass.
I want to know. I want to know what led to them being disinvited in the first place, because clearly some thought went into inviting them and putting that program together. So how they go from here? Yes, we want to keep allies. We want to know that they've learned from this mistake. And I mean, looking at the Catholic Church currently, Pope Francis is much more accepting and much more progressive than the church has ever been.
Yeah.
So,
and in fact has all kinds of cardinals behind him with butcher knives in their hands, trying to slip it between his shoulder blades at the first opportunity because he's leading.
And I don't think that we should dismiss the fact that the Dodgers has a Pride Night. Yeah. Like, let's not forget that wasn't canceled. It was a segment that they didn't necessarily want, which, obviously they changed their mind and went back to, but there was still a Pride Night, which is public. And
You know, there's two, before we move on, there's two things that I think are incredibly interesting. Of course, we're happy on this result. We will see how our community responds, because this is breaking news that happened just this afternoon. The one thing that I think is interesting, the group Catholic Vote, which was one of the big ones that were involved, and Rubio echoing how terrible it is that the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, they're funny. They certainly have free speech rights, don't they? They have free speech rights. If the Proud Boy Nazi fascists get to express their free speech, wait, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence also get to do it. And it's just interesting to me that if Catholic Vote would pay one iota as much attention to Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence having negative effect on their children, they would also be protesting, wait, Catholic priests. Because the priests have done way more damage to children in America and all over the world than the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence ever will.
And
Amen.
It's never about children.
No,
it's never
it's
about
never,
protecting children.
never.
You know, and no one really knows the history of this. This is perpetual indulgence. I mean, it just seems like a bunch of people with white face, you know, wearing a nun's, right? You know, and when you look back, and I don't know, I'm not educated enough about it to speak on it, but I know that their whole point is to do good, that they were huge during the AIDS crisis. Like, you know, that
They're
not
making a political protest by being in drag in whiteface as nuns because of what the Catholic Church has done to LGBT. That is the quintessential definition of a free speech protest.
And one thing I did want to say, when you mentioned the Proud Boys getting to exercise free speech, that doesn't fall under free speech when they're inciting violence.
That's exactly right. Right. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.